Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, bringing you another beat map bat rep.
We work so you can play. MiniWarGaming's beat map bat rep.
This is game 2 in our Warmachine best of 3 series against Tim. And once again, Tim is from Black Knight Games, or he's not from. He works for Black Knight Games, so he's representing our Hamilton cousins over there, whatever you want to call them. And so far, if you haven't seen the first one, you should stop right now because I'm about to give away who won. All right, if you're still here, you're going to get some spoilers. Right now the score is 1-0 for me, which means this is it.
I gotta win.
You lose, you're out. $100 of prizes on the line here. So we're gonna have some fun here. Playing a different scenario, completely different list for both of us. You're gonna see just a tiny bit of crossover in the units brought, and it's gonna be 35 points. So let's take a look at the scenario as well as the armies. Let's start by taking a look at the board setup. Now remember, all the terrain that you're going to see, pretty much all the terrain that you're seeing, has been provided to us by DreamSpiritWargaming.com. So go and check them out. They make awesome looking terrain, as you can see right here. Some of this is custom, and some of this you can get at their website as well. So we're playing a steamroller tournament scenario where we have the 3 objectives. If you've watched our Warmachine battle reports, you might be familiar with this. One of the objectives will disappear at the end of the first turn. At the end of the second turn, you start capturing the objectives, and the first to 3 points wins. And the deployer gets to deploy. The first person gets to deploy 7 inches, and the second gets 10, I think. Anyway, my Khador list. These are 35-point armies. This is Epic Butcher with 2 Berserkers. I decided to go for a Tier 4 Epic Butcher list, which means lots of Doom Reavers, because they're a little cheaper. So we've got 3 sets of Doom Reavers, all with unit attachments. Remember, because it's a tier list, the field restriction or the field allowance for the attachments has been removed. It's become unlimited instead. So we've got 3 groups of 6 with the Grey Lord escort. Then we've got Fenris. That's him mounted and dismounted. So he's only 1 person, but we have 2 models for him. And we've got Yuri the Axe, which this time hopefully I won't forget to use, because last game that I used him, I forgot him in the woods. Tim's Retribution list. He's brought a slightly different army. There's still some things that are the same. So this is, remember, 35 points. This Retribution list is being led by Raven the Eternal Light. And then we've got a couple of solos in there, Discordia and Silas Wishnailer. I'm trying to remember which ones are which, so we actually played this game about a week or 2 ago, so I'm a little behind on getting this edited. Or the Discordia might be that. Warjack, I think, is what it actually is. Then we've got a 10 Mage Hunter Strike Force with Mage Hunter Commander. We've got a Mage Hunter Assassin. We've got 2 groups of Stormfall Archers, 4 of them. And that's everything in his list. So that's 35 points. And this is I believe it's a tiered Retribution list as well. It might only be Tier 1 or Tier 2. And so we rolled off to see who went first, and once again I got to go first, which means I deploy first. Actually, sorry. Yeah, I got to go first, so I deploy first. Now most of my stuff has advanced deploy. So Butcher and the 2 Warjacks that he's with, as well as Fenris, do not have that, so they're just deploying together. And then he deploys most of his guys that do not have advanced deploy. But we both actually have advanced deploy in our armies. My army happens to have a lot of them because all of the Doom Reavers have advanced deploy, as well as Yuri the Axe. So typical formations here. We have to remember the terrain is kind of going to get in our way, which makes for a more interesting game. It's one thing I've been noticing. I haven't really been using terrain very well in my games, and so I'm going to try to use more of it. I was reading the 40k rulebook, and they actually consider you should cover about a quarter of the board with terrain, and I think I probably do about an 1/8 or maybe a 1/6 of the board is covered in terrain. So that's one thing I'm going to try to do, really change up the games by adding more terrain. Because you really think about it, terrain changes the tactics. It gets in your way, it blocks your line of sight, it gives you cover, it does all these different things. If you don't have enough of it, then the shooty armies are the ones that excel. So there's my advanced deploy. I got Doom Reavers all along the front and along the side. Basically, my strategy is going to be pretty simple. I'm going to run up, and I just need to get to close combat with him, whereas he's more a shooty army. And so he's going to want to sit back and try to shoot me down before I get there. Doom Reavers are not hard to kill. They do have the tough special rule, so they have a 5+ chance of not dying and just getting knocked down instead. But that's still, they're not very hard to kill. And so that is going to play into his hand quite well. So you can see the setup here, just my gun line out front, the guns being a bunch of Doom Reavers. And then he's got his Mage Hunter Strike Force out front, ready to shoot as much as he can. And then he's got the rest of his army behind. and he got to deploy much further than me because he was the second player. We rolled off, and remember I got first turn, so here we go. My first turn is actually quite simple because I don't really have any shooting abilities. I run everything. So Doom Reavers run up to the one objective. Yuri the Axe tries to hide behind the cover a bit, although the Mage Hunter Strike Force will ignore the cover and concealment and all that, so he could be easily killed. Doom Reavers move up to grab the high ground to get the defense bonus, and also to hold the objectives, and the other Doom Reavers run over to this objective. So I basically have each objective covered. And then the Butcher is going to move up. They're everybody's running. He's going to camp all of his focus. Now the Retribution, one thing that he's decided he's going to try to do, he casts Snipe on all of his Mage Hunters and Vortex on himself, and then he moves up and he uses his feet. So I believe his feat is that they get an extra die on their attack roll. And so they're actually going to try to snipe the Butcher. They're all in range. They ignore line of sight. They even ignore his focus bonus on his armor. And so he's rolling 3 dice to hit, so most of the time he's going to be hitting. That one was a miss there. The first one hit but didn't do any damage. This one does 1 point of damage, so he needs 9 or above to do damage. So there, doesn't do any damage. Here he hits, needs 9 or above, doesn't do any damage. Third and next one hits, doesn't do any damage. The next one hits, and still doesn't do any damage. This is reminiscent of our first game where I couldn't roll above 9 with my 2 dice as well for hitting. So he keeps hitting and he's not doing any damage, and then he decides, you know, I got to switch targets. I'm not going to be able to kill the Butcher. So he wasted a lot of shots there that could have been used on the Doom Reavers, but it was a good gamble. He could have killed the Butcher and won the game. Misses the Doom Reaver there, but unfortunately, all those shots from the Mage Hunter Strike Force managed to kill a Doom Reaver and take off 1 point from Butcher. So now he's got to make up for that. He's scrambling now because he realizes my guys are really close to him, and Doom Reavers, when they get into combat with his army, are going to do a lot of damage. So he's casting all of his Stormfall archers they all have AoE weapons, which means he's going to be able to hit a lot of my guys, and they're going to be able to do a lot of damage here. So the next one fires as well. Gets a direct hit, hits to the other 2 beside it as well. So he kills the one in the middle, and then he gets to hit the other ones as well, and he kills that one. There's no my unit attachment there is dead, which is why they do not have tough at this point. So he's just killing them all right there. They are fearless, so they are not going to run from the hitting, but it doesn't matter. These guys are packed together, so they're going to get hit even worse. And now the Grey Lord Escort thankfully rolled his tough roll, so he stayed alive. And he's hitting all the other guys and doesn't manage to kill any of them, thankfully. So the fact that it was Blast saved him there. So again, rolling to hit, and he gets a nice hit, kills the Escort this time. Now they still do have tough for these rolls because these are all simultaneous. And so I think he manages no wounds there. I guess he had to roll, I think he had to roll 9 or above again. So the other archers are going to move up, and they're going to fire at the same group now that they don't have tough. They get a direct hit, which hits like almost all of them, I believe. Kills the one in the middle. They do not have tough at this point. And so we'll see what happens there. Still doesn't manage to kill the other ones, but he still has lots of other blast markers. And so this one deviates. He actually misses, so it deviates just a little bit, hits 3 of them with just blast. That kills one of them. That has to be a kill with a 6 and a 5. And the other 2 I don't think do any damage. But he is whittling them down. If you think about if he had used his Mage Hunter Strike Force to hit them, he could have killed a lot of Doom Reavers. Because with a Doom Reaver list, you need to kill a lot of them. The other one blasts and hits this group, and hurts one of the Grey Lord Escorts, or hurts the Grey Lord Escort but does not kill him, and then manages to kill one of the Doom Reavers as well. And everybody else is running up to get into position to try to support the rest of the army, but unfortunately he didn't do enough damage there. He did actually kill a lot of Doom Reavers, but and he's still going to be attacking more. But just because that first group went for that gamble, it did not pay off. Now I have taken heavy losses to my Khador army. As you can see, I think I've lost probably about half of my Doom Reavers by this point. It's probably what it's added up to. So end of round 1, he's taken no casualties, but I've taken about half my Doom Reavers. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, about half of them are gone, plus 2 out of 3 of the Grey Lord Escort. So that's a big deal. And 1 point of damage on Butcher, which is not a big deal. But his problem is I'm basically going to be in close combat range. Even Butcher is going to be in close combat range if he casts the right spells. And with his feat and the rage tokens, which you're going to see in round 2, it's pretty crazy. So now we're going to roll to see which one disappears. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here we go. 1, which means the one on the far left disappears. And that's where he didn't want it to happen, because that's where I was weakest. So let's turn into round 2. Stay tuned for it. Click on the annotations if you're on YouTube or the link below if you're on MiniWarGaming. Don't forget to subscribe and click like to show your support for this. And leave a comment. Who do you think is going to win based on what you saw in round 1?